I never knew when we started that the Prism League could be so fun. Everybody in it makes it great, and our current format is fantastic. But what if it could be even better? What if we're missing something? I've been thinking about the future of the PHL, and I have a proposal for you to consider. Here's my vision for the future of the PHL. 16 teams, 4 divisions of 4 teams each. Your schedule is comprised of 12 games, 2 each against the other 3 teams in your division for 6 games, 1 against each of the 4 teams in another division that rotates each year, and 1 each against the other 2 teams in the other divisions that finish in the same place you did the previous year in their divisions, for a total of 12 regular season games. A total of 8 teams make the playoffs, 4 division winners and 4 wildcards. In the first round, the wildcards play elimination games, where the losers are out and the winners advance to week 14. Meanwhile, the division winners play against each other, but not in elimination games. The winners of the division battles will advance 2 weeks forward and get a bye in week 14, whereas the losers must play against the wildcard teams that won in week 13. This creates our traditional 6-team playoff format, where the winners of the week 14 games will match up in the semifinals against the division winners in week 15. This is the semifinal, where the winners advance to the final played in week 16. The losers would then play in the third place game. The winner of the final obviously would be our PHL champion. This system creates a balance. If you can't make the top 8, then you have no gripe about being in a tough division and missing the playoffs. With a high point total, you should only need to go about 6-6. But winning your division is also very meaningful, rewarding regular season division dominance. I came up with this whole idea because I wanted to find a way to get Michael Foster into our league. He's part of our community already and did an excellent job filling in for Tal at last year's draft. He takes fantasy football seriously, and I think he'd be an uncontroversial choice. The second edition is more difficult, but my suggestion is Stephanie Litzler. She wants her own team and has definitely shown she can handle it. She's part of the community already, and it could make for a fun rivalry with Emily for best female manager. We know she's not going to go Catherine on us and draft based on looks. She's legit. We all know a few others who would be great additions too, but none of them are as tight-knit with the whole group as Michael and Stephanie. I think these are the least controversial choices. Expanding teams means less available players. 16 teams makes it pretty tight. Nobody wants to start Donald Brown as their RB1. But I argue that this is at least an equalizing problem. If you missed out on all the top running backs, you probably landed a Peyton Manning or a Drew Brees and a top receiver. You may be starting Donald Brown, but your opponent is starting Joe Flacco to go with their LaShawn McCoy. My point is that player scarcity affects all of us equally, and I argue that one thing that makes the PHL so great is the challenge of digging deep and preparing for the worst. But it is difficult for 2 reasons. First, the waiver wire thins out terribly. I suggest we mitigate this by dropping a bench spot on our rosters. Hoarding starters won't be as feasible, especially when we need to fill in for bye weeks. With fewer bench spots, that free agent pool grows to balance it out. Second, the draft difference between number 1 and number 16 is really intense. This is already a problem with 14 teams. I tried to solve this with an auction format, but was shot down. Instead, I propose we implement a lottery system for the 8 non-playoff teams to get the first 8 picks. Then the same thing with the playoff teams for 9 through 16. We could retain the snake format, and you wouldn't be forced to take the number 1 pick, but you would get first choice if you won the lottery. This way, if you get stuck with the 16th pick, you at least made a serious playoff run the year before and probably have good keepers. This will help with our beloved parity, even if it doesn't eliminate the problems of a snake draft completely. This might be my favorite part. Fixing the divisions is a serious business. We're going to be in them for a long time. I recommend a BCS-type ranking system to rank the 16 managers. First, we take each manager's average finish in the PHL. Second, we take each manager's average regular season points per game. Third, every manager ranks the 16 managers 1 through 16 and we average those. For new managers, the manager ranking system will count triple. We average the 3 numbers and determine our rankings 1 through 16. Divisions will be 1, 8, 9, 16, 2, 7, 10, 15, 3, 6, 11, 14, and 5, 4, 5, 12, 13. This would create relatively even divisions in the long run. The biggest boost is the idea of consistent division rivalries, and conversely division pride. Like in college football, you will build lasting, meaningful rivalries in the regular season, or when you play each other in the playoffs. But when you're out of it completely, it gives you a dog in the playoff fight if you want your division to represent well and take the championship. Will there be an SEC-type division that dominates for a stretch? We'll have more vested in our regular season games and in the playoffs when we're out of it. Secondly, the schedule is also improved. Like the NFL, this schedule will promote parity and is less likely to leave great teams out of the playoffs completely. There is still a strong element of luck if you're in a bad division and win it, but with so many teams, I think this is less likely to lead to a lucky championship. The playoff format is more exciting and potentially more rewarding. Third, overall your team will feel more like a franchise, entrenched in a division and having specific goals for each year, facing the same teams often. I think all major sports have this element, and it's part of what makes them great to be a part of. We can follow suit. And lastly, the impetus for this whole idea was to include Michael in our league. I think expanding to include him will be a positive step and will enhance the PHL community.
Think about it, discuss it. We're not going to vote right away. I want you guys to have the time to think about it and let it soak in, and maybe it'll grow on you the way it's grown on me. But for now, enjoy playoffs and have a good off season. I love you all.